Thank you for watching this episode of the 5-Minute Bible from the 2 Timothy 2:2 Objective. Today, we will take a closer look at the minor prophet Aᴍᴏs. Aᴍᴏs' name means to place a load on or to bear, and Aᴍᴏs lived up to his name. God placed a heavy message on Aᴍᴏs, and even though he was from Judah in the south, he carried that burden to the northern tribes of Israel. The first 2 verses of Aᴍᴏs gives the overall summary of the book. The Lord is roaring from Zion. Like a hungry lion about to pounce on its unsuspecting prey, the covenant God of Israel would soon bring judgment and destruction on his people in Israel. Aᴍᴏs then begins his prophecy with 7 repetitive judgments against nations surrounding the northern kingdom of Israel. The Lord uses the phrase for 3 transgressions and for 4 to show that every one of these nations had committed sins over and over again to the point where his patience had run out. Nations to the north, south, east, and west were not left out of God's punishment. After all the surrounding nations were judged, God turned his focus to his own people, the nation of Israel, made up of the northern 10 tribes of Israel, in chapters 2:6 through 16. In essence, they had forgotten their God was the one true God, and they had resorted to idolatry. After the prophecies to the surrounding nations, Aᴍᴏs delineates 3 judgments against Israel, followed by 2 woes. In chapter 3, God's people were judged because they forgot the significance of their chosen status. In chapter 4, they were judged because they had not turned from their sin and turned back to the Lord. In chapter 5, verses 1 through 17, Israel was judged because they refused to treat the most vulnerable in their society with the justice and righteousness God demanded from those who lived in covenant with him. These 3 judgments are followed by 2 woes. The first woe, found in 5:18 through 27, is given to those who long for the day of the Lord. These people had false security in their idolatrous religious practices and therefore believed they were in good standing with God. The reality was they were to be grieved because they were not. Aᴍᴏs cries out a second woe in chapter 6 to those who are at ease. The people had false security in their military and their material possessions. They were comfortable and they believed they were safe, but they were not. Regardless of their religious practices, their military strength, and their material possessions, the judgment of God would find them. After the 3 judgments and 2 woes, Aᴍᴏs records 5 visions the Lord gave him. These 5 visions symbolize Israel's spiritual condition. In the first vision, Aᴍᴏs sees a swarm of locusts that will consume all the people's food. Aᴍᴏs cries out for mercy for Israel, and the Lord relents. Chapter 7, 4 through 6 is the second vision. Here, God showed Aᴍᴏs a consuming fire in which everything was destroyed. Again, Aᴍᴏs intercedes for the people of Israel, and again, the Lord relents. The third vision is that of a plumb line. God shows Aᴍᴏs that his people are not in line with his standards of righteousness, and there would be no stopping his judgment. After Aᴍᴏs shares the vision of the plumb line, he encounters Amaziah, the priest of Bethel. This priest of the idols worshipped in the north told Aᴍᴏs to leave and to preach his message somewhere else. However, Aᴍᴏs did not leave and assured Amaziah that God's judgment would surely come and he would not escape it. Chapter 8 comprises the 4th vision the Lord gave Aᴍᴏs. He showed Aᴍᴏs a basket of ripe fruit. Using a wordplay in Hebrew, God tells Aᴍᴏs that the people of God are ripe for judgment. In the 5th and final vision, Aᴍᴏs saw the Lord standing beside the altar in Bethel. God promised that this idolatrous temple would be torn down and no one would be able to escape. The prophecy ends on a message of hope. God promised his people that one day the promised Davidic king would be restored, the curse of creation would be reversed, and that he would eternally establish his people in the promised land. These final promises are fulfilled in Jesus. Jesus is the king from the line of David who has been placed on the throne and who will reign forever. Jesus has reversed the curse and will ultimately remove the curse of sin from the earth. And for those who have placed their faith in Jesus, the Father has established them in eternity. Thank you for watching the 5-Minute Bible from the 2 Timothy 2:2 Objective. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave your comments below. You can stay connected with us by following our Facebook page. You can email any comments, questions, or suggestions to roland@2t22.org. Thanks again for watching, and I pray you have been encouraged and built up in your faith in Jesus Christ. If so, please pass this on to others who will also benefit. That is, after all, the 2 Timothy 2:2 Objective.